During the 1970s, artists such as Grandmaster Flash and Grandmaster Caz started to DJ parties in and around the Bronx neighborhoods. Later, after seeing these shows, people would take the music and introduce it to the streets. This is where they began to dance to styles of beatboxing and music that contained a form of style called scratching. This was a time when people started to refer to this type of culture as hip-hop. Teenagers and young adults would gather together on street corners and engage in dance battles for entertainment where they would demonstrate styles such as popping, locking, and breaking. Also, they would show their athleticism and skill by spinning on their heads or back against the pavement. Later, the style was known as b-boy. As music developed into the 1980s, so did the style of hip-hop. Hip-hop in the 80s was exploited and became more of just a fad and not an art or culture. It was a disgrace to true hip-hop dancers because they felt that hip-hop was not being performed to its true potential. Movies such as Wild Style, Beat Street, and Flashdance are where it all started and like wildfire went out into the industry. Businesses commercialized the style of breaking and put it in the background of advertisements for things such as fast food and clothing lines. Businesses also started incorporating breaking and hip-hop to sell products such as special mats, guidebooks, and knee pads. To businesses, the hip-hop culture was just a product that would make lots of money. It wasn't until the 90s where hip-hop went back to its real roots again. In 1990, Germany created the Battle of the Year, which was a competition where breaking crews could battle each other and be judged on their routines. There are several other competitions that sprung up during the 90s, such as the UK B-Boy Championships, B-Boy Summit, and Freestyle Session. This was also a time when dance became more of a form of entertainment than a hobby. TV programs like Dance Fever, The Grind, and The Wade Robson Project were all very popular at the time. There was even a musical called So, What Happens Now? That was performed by Rocksteady Crew, Magnificent Force, and Rhythm Technicians in 1995. Hip-hop dancing has thoroughly established itself in film, television, theater, and other forms of entertainment. Locking is defined as a style of dancing in which energetic maneuvers are performed, especially emphasizing arm movements. Locking began in the 1970s in Los Angeles, California, with Don Campbell. His moves soon brought attention, and they began to appear on the popular show Soul Train. Dancers such as Jimmy Scooby-Doo Foster and the Go-Go Brothers would get together and share moves. Locking can be performed in solos and in unison. It is often performed to funk music. Locking consisted of complete stops in motion and is more relaxed than popping. It was performed in large scale and also small functions. Locking dancers started to form groups, the most famous being the Lockers. They were said to be the most influential group in locking because they combined improvisational and synchronized dancers. The influential locking groups created the phenomenon that began in Los Angeles and spread across the country. Popping is a style of dancing that incorporates the rhythmic contraction of the dancer's muscles and pantomimed movements. Popping began in Fresno, California in the 1970s. It was said to be created by Boogaloo Sam, but this is disputed because people thought that popping had been created before he came along. Popping is performed standing up and consists of contracting, then relaxing certain muscles of the body. This muscle movement causes the dancer's body to jerk or pop. It is usually performed to funk, disco, or hip-hop music. You normally see popping being performed in battles in which the dancers try to one-up each other. Breaking or break dancing is a style of dancing involving acrobatic movements such as spinning around on the head or shoulders. Breaking began in New York in the late 1960s and early 70s. The father of breakdancing is said to be James Brown, who wrote a song and created a dance for the song that later came to be called the B-Boy. Breakdancing is very popular among African American youth. This type of dance took pieces of all kinds of dance and martial arts. The first breaking crews began to emerge in 1977. The most popular crew was the Rocksteady crew. This crew made breaking popular because it brought old breaking moves and combined them with new acrobatic moves. Michael Jackson was an early hip-hop dancer and choreographer during the 1980s. Although his moves were not the typical b-boy moves from the streets, his dances incorporated isolated movements which were similar to those of b-boys. Jackson was influential due to the fact that he created a unique style attributed by the media as hip-hop. Kenny "Ken Swift" Gabor is known as the epitome of a b-boy. He is credited by many people for creating dance moves with his personal techniques. Ken started b-boying in 1978 at the age of 12. Dancers on the Upper West Side of Manhattan were said to be his inspiration for dancing. Exposure at block parties and street jams led to his first indoor performance in 1981, which is when he joined Rocksteady crew. He then continued to perform throughout the club circuit in places such as Negril, Dacenteria, and The Kitchen. Ken was the first of many things. He was featured in the first hip-hop documentary film, Style Wars, as well as the first hip-hop motion picture called Wild Style. He was also the first b-boy to ever be on the cover of a major hip-hop publication in August 1996 for a magazine called Rap Pages. Ken has judged dance competitions all over the world in places such as Switzerland, Sweden, Italy, and Norway. He focuses on educating in true hip-hop culture, and even organized a course called The History of Hip-Hop Culture in New York, focusing on dance, for 11 to 7-year-olds. His creation of dance moves, along with his enormous contributions, has made Kenny "Ken Swift" Gabor considered to be, by far, the greatest influence the dance form of b-boying has known. Clive Campbell, also known as DJ Kool Herc, is known to be the father of hip-hop. Campbell was born in 1955 in Kingston, Jamaica, but he immigrated to the Bronx in 1967. While in high school, Campbell was always seen working out in the weight room, and over time his classmates started calling him Hercules. Not long after, his friends started referring to him as Kool Herc. Herc always had an affinity for music, and he was influenced not only by Jamaican music, but also by American music, such as James Brown and the Ohio Players. In a 1989 interview at the New Music Seminar, Kool Herc said that hip-hop started when my father bought a PA system and didn't know how to hook it up. Herc first started DJing in his apartment building's rec room, mixing soul and funk with elements of reggae to create a new collage of music. After some time, Herc became more interested in the break section of songs. So whenever he DJ'd, he decided to give more emphasis to the breakup songs. He did this by playing two copies of the same record on different turntables. This became known as the breakbeat. He would manipulate the breakbeats between each turntable so that it appeared to repeat endlessly. Herc called this the merry-go-round. Dancers began to choreograph their steps and maneuvers to match the breaks. Herc called those dancers break boys or b-boys, because they would come out on the dance floor and show off their skills during the break of a song. DJ Kool Herc's fame peaked in 1975 when he began working at venues like the Havalo in the Bronx. Herc is accredited as the creator of the term b-boy. Herc's fame and career began to fade away in 1977 when he was stabbed 3 times at one of his own parties. In 1984, he appeared in the movie Beat Street, but his career never really recovered. Even though DJ Kool Herc never recorded any albums during his time, he's still credited as the father of hip-hop.
That part right there, when the break, boom, I had to come in with Bongo Rock. Bongo Rock was still no vocals in it, and I would go into Baby Huey, you know, the Mexican.